if you do all those right things, trust me, you're not just doing well by one client. That client will probably send you 20 other clients. That's better than any commercial out there.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Law Firm Marketing Minute. As always, I'm your host, Smike, and I'm here with Lysandra Matos of Matos Law Firm, located out of Denver, Colorado. So, very happy for you to be on the show with me today.
Well, we're big fans of your page, so I am really excited to do this today.
Well, I appreciate that. For a little context for everyone out there listening, I had linked up with Matos Law Firm on social media a while back, and really formed into a great social media connection. I mean, they have great content themselves on their pages, I should say, because there's a couple of them, and it's just been such a great back and forth. So I'm very excited. I think just based on the notes that I have from Matt, your marketing guy over there, I think that your story is this episode is really going to inspire a lot of people. So very much looking forward to it. And let's just get right into it. So first and foremost, I would love to know, how you became a lawyer, why you decided to become a lawyer. What's the background behind all of that?
Well, when I was a little girl, my family members would say, you talk too much, you should be a lawyer. But I didn't believe them. It wasn't until I moved to America. I'm from Cuba. My family and I moved to the United States when I was 14 years old. And of course, I didn't speak English. My parents didn't speak English. We didn't know how to drive. We didn't understand how the American system, how it worked. Just $7, that was our net worth back then. And, there's a lot of hustle and struggle that comes with that experience. And my experience was not as bad as other immigrants' experiences, but language was always an issue. So I would be the translator for my family. So anytime my mom was trying to sign a lease, or whenever she went to the bank and she was trying to ask questions like, what is this like $35 fee or whatever, I ended up being the interpreter. And I was like,
oh, wow.
This shy 14-year-old could barely speak English, but somehow was better than my mom's English. So my mom, being the powerful Latina that she is, she would be like in the background just yelling, and I'm like trying to translate all of that. And that's what inspired me to be a lawyer, basically speak on behalf of others.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that aligns perfectly. I mean, I can't even imagine, like, was it a much of a culture shock coming from Cuba to America at 14? Because obviously, I know of some people who immigrated here, and but they were like very, very young, so they couldn't even remember, their life before immigrating. For you, was there much of a change that you saw?
Well, the day that I moved to America was the happiest day of my life. It was something that I really feel like we manifested. I remember being a little girl, like just in Luyano, just like looking out the balcony and imagining I was in Disney World. Like I would look up the clouds and think, oh, I'm at Disney World, like hanging out with Mickey Mouse or whatever. And then I look the other way, and then there's a big trash can with like overflowing trash, and a place that was the opposite of Disney World. But I remember also thinking, oh, I'm going to be sitting in a pool with my nice orange juice. This is the image I had in my brain. And when my family got the opportunity to move to America, and I just remember everything was amazing. Like the streets were so clean. The minivan, it felt like a spaceship. Because of course in Cuba, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the transportation in Cuba.
They were very old vehicles, weren't they, for the longest time? Yeah.
Or the bus that has like, I don't know how many people, 100 plus people like crammed together. So to me, I was just so happy to be here. So that first day was really happy, and then reality struck. Hey, we can't speak the language. Where do you live? How do you get a job? Even to go to school, I had to do like all these vaccines, all the paperwork. And I was just a very shy kid. I was just always hiding. I would not be doing this. I was always hiding in the back of the class.
Do you think that's really what drove you to become a lawyer?
It was that, and also seeing that when you don't know what's going on, you really need help. You need someone to guide you and explain things in your language. It's so important to actually help people, because for us, we just didn't know anything. We didn't even know about car insurance or very basic things that if you grow up here, you're like, duh, you get a car, you get car insurance, of course.
Yeah. So let's talk about becoming a lawyer for you. So what was that whole process like, and where did you go to law school, and how was that for you?
So I wanted to go to Harvard. When something that, and I credit my parents for this, I had big dreams that they never told me, no, you can't do that. So I remember one day I woke up, I guess I watched Legally Blonde, and I was like, I want to go to Harvard. And the next day I woke up and I said, I want to be president of America.
Wow. Hey.
No one told me it was unconstitutional, which I appreciate. So my parents were like, okay, well, you just have to work really hard. If you work really hard, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
So I had this need to prove myself, because of course, when you come to America, you go through all that shock of leaving your family, your friends, your house, everything behind. You feel like you have to hustle, and that your friends back home don't have the opportunities you have. So I'm not going to go to class and, waste my time. So I ended up becoming a lawyer because I wanted to be a politician and, again, help people. I saw how politics really influenced my life, why Cuba is Cuba and why America is America. So I wanted to be more in charge of how the law was made and things like that. But I ended up being a lawyer, and I absolutely love it.
Well, I love the fact that, coming over here, obviously you faced some adversity, but yet you didn't let that, keep you down. You didn't let that. You were like, you know what, here I am. Mickey Mouse can wait now, because I got bigger dreams than Walt Disney World now. That's awesome. So let's talk about, starting your own law firm. How long has Matos Law Firm been around?
So we've been around for 8 years. I worked at a prominent law firm here in Colorado. I knew that's what I wanted to do from the moment from my first class in law school. It was torts. And I was like, wait a second. So you can represent the poor people and you can get the money and you can make money doing that? Oh my goodness, this is a dream.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Win.
Tell me more.
Yeah.
Like holding people accountable for being jerks. I can totally do that. So, I always wanted to go into the personal injury law space, and that's what I did. That was my first legal job. And of course, like an employee, I had a bad day. I was crying in the parking lot once. I called my mom, and my mom was like, Mija, in her high-pitched Latina, powerful voice. I didn't come to this country so that you can be crying in some parking lot. You get it together. What do you want to do? And of course, what I wanted to do was to start my own law firm and basically create Matos Land and just create our own little world where, we make up the rules.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you started your law firm. And obviously, you had to market it in some sort of way in order to grow it. I mean, this is what the main topic of this podcast is about. The marketing and more particular marketing towards Spanish speaking individuals. What was your philosophy for marketing your firm? Like, where did you first start in that realm?
First, I was really bad at it, like really, really bad. But I had a few key concepts. I knew that if I didn't have any clients, and again, I didn't have family who were lawyers. I didn't have any family in Colorado who said, hey, my friend crashed, here's her number. I had zero help. I was a new lawyer. So I knew hustle. And I knew that if I was working 40, 60 hours a week for somebody else, now my new 40-hour-a-week job was going to be to get clients. So that was my full-time job, was to market. First time I went out, it's a very funny story. I went to work out and I knew that I was different because I was Latina, I spoke the language, and I needed to meet more Latinos. I go work out, I hear some lady speaking Spanish. I ran to them with my brand new business cards. I said, I'm Lisandra Matos. Here's my card. Call me if you're involved in a crash. That is not the way to do it. But I learned. I took action. I learned that you can help people work with their workout that way. That's a good training exercise. They ran away as fast as they could. And then I went home and I said, how can I do this better? So I picked up some marketing books. I educated myself. And I ended up saying, okay, I can't talk to thousands of people. I don't have billboards. I don't have commercials. What can I do? What if I meet one person, one Latina, and that Latina knows 500 people because she already has a business? If I talk to one Latina and I actually work on that relationship, now I have 500 people in my network. And that's what I did. And then I did that over and over again. And I made my little Latina army where maybe I knew 10 people, but really those 10 people knew a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's as they say, it's not about who you know, it's about who they know, right? I mean, that's awesome because that's right, up the alley of what we preach all the time here is don't forget your current network. Don't forget, many times people have this idea that marketing is all about just going out and getting new leads and lead gen this and lead gen that. Well, that's great, that's awesome. But at the same time, you still have a great network, most likely, that is willing to refer to you, is willing to help you get business. And to be honest, they're their best salespeople. They're the ones, if you help them and you do good things for them, they're the ones that are going to go out and promote you and refer to you. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
The conversion rate was at 100% back then when it was my friends referring me cases. They were sold by the time that they called me.
Awesome. So let's talk about, you have clients. I believe you have clients that are English speaking clients, correct? Is the focus more so on Spanish speaking individuals?
So we've marketed a lot in English where I go on Fox. Like there are local shows here where I go on Fox TV and the Latinos are calling me. And even if they don't speak Spanish, but they'll say things like, you remind me of my mom, you remind me of my sister. Psychologically, people trust people who look like themselves. So that's probably it. I don't know. I've really, it doesn't make sense to niche down when you don't know anything about marketing. You think you need to talk to a lot of people. And that's what I did for a while until I figured out my formula, my Latina Army formula. But at some point, you realize that it's that quality, the relationship. And for me, it happens to be the Latinos because in Colorado, there are not many bilingual attorneys who do what I do.
Real quick, this is a little off, a little tangent. Why did you choose personal injury to get into out of all the areas of law?
It's that factor of I hate bullies, and because I've always been a little person, I'm still a little person. I just love defending the people against big corporations, and the fact that I could make money doing that, I that's like my dream job. I make money actually helping other people. Awesome.
That's awesome. And then obviously you have the ability to, tap into something that your family went through, not having, coming over from Cuba and not necessarily knowing how everything worked. So you're literally being that person that you guys needed back when you came.
Exactly. That's Matos Law World. And I hope you can visit us sometime.
I would love to. I've never been to Denver, but I would love to get out to Denver. So sign me up.
So come on over. We go all in. When people come over, I feel like they're coming to my house, to my mom's house. What's the first thing when they come to my mom's house? My mom's like, hey, ¿quieres cafecito? Do you want some coffee? And, we sit down with people, we talk to them, we make them feel at home. Latinos like myself, we always have a big family support system. And when something goes wrong, you usually bring your family members with you. So we have a really big conference room out there where, people are like, oh, I brought my cousin and and I'm babysitting my grandkid. And I'm like, no problem. Here's some toys for your grandkid. If you let them have candy, here's some candy for them. And it's more like when they come in, they don't feel like they don't belong here. They feel like this is where you belong. You're the boss here. We're here for you, not the other way around.
Yeah. So it's really all about that personal experience. Would you say it's very much the cultural experience as well, in terms of that culture versus people who didn't immigrate here? Would you say that that's like that's the idea behind having toys and candy and a big conference room and all that?
It's like I expected, because that's exactly how my family is. I know that if somebody comes to my house, it would be so rude of me to not offer them some snacks, some food. It's kind of bringing home to the office. We designed the lobby, I almost called it a living room, to look like a living room so that when you go in, you feel like you're at home. And also, understanding like, my clients are not going to come here by themselves. Some of them do, but I gave a settlement check to someone the other day, and there were like 5 people in the room. And you would think, hey, you want all your family members to know how much money you're getting? And I kept repeating myself, just so you know, this is a confidential meeting. If you want your family members to wait outside, so that I could be the bad guy, so I could be the one kicking people out. And my client was like, no, we're in this together. And I was like, okay, well, let's do it. I guess you guys get some free lunch today. But awesome. The difference is that in other law firms, people be like, perhaps, I don't know, but it would be like, oh, little kids can be here with us. Oh, you want to really make a Latina mad say that their kids are not welcome? Right? For me, it's like, great, I have a 2-year-old. Come on over. No worries. We got some toys for them. Oh, your kid is starting to draw on the wall at some point. Yeah, I may be a little nervous, but I'm like, whatever. I have more paint. We'll paint over that. Don't worry about it. Because I know our culture is all about family. And if you disrespect someone's family, then forget it. They don't trust me anymore.
I gotcha. So that makes absolutely 110% sense that, you have those features of the office. I love it that you call it, was it Matos World?
It is Matos World.
That's awesome. You were dreaming of Disney World, and you got your own, even better.
Manifesting.
That's right. So obviously, let's talk about obviously that content has a role to play in marketing. You guys, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, you guys put out fantastic social media content. So the importance of it. So let's talk about that, because I know you guys have your Matos Law Firm accounts, and then you have the Matos Espanol, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have the two separate accounts. Have you seen any kind of differences in terms of doing content for one versus doing content for the other?
I see that people engage a lot more with my Spanish content because it's more authentic. I sound more like myself. In English, I sound like I'm trying to be from here. In Spanish, I just sound as loud as I actually am in real life. Real life.
To be fair, you're sounding good on this podcast. I couldn't tell, so you're doing a good job. It's
just in Spanish, I'm just like I'm very like novela. Like in English, I'm more professional. So I guess the difference is like the topics can be a little bit different. We may talk more about people's rights, reminding people you have rights. Just because you're an immigrant doesn't mean that you don't have the same rights as other people living here. So it's more catered towards, the topics that we know they want to hear about.
When it comes to translating the content over. So real quick, let me preface this with half of our team here at Spotlight Branding, they work remotely from Mexico. And twice a year they get to come up here and do quarterlies with us. So it's great, it's a good time having the whole team together. And it's funny because sometimes some things I'll try to say because I think I'm like, oh, like It's, I know how to say this, right, in Spanish, and then I'll say it, and then they'll like just laugh me off stage, basically, because the direct translation doesn't necessarily correlate, totally. So for any law firms out there that are doing content for both English speaking and Spanish speaking, I mean, Google Translate's probably not the way to go, I would imagine.
I mean, it's pretty good. We use Google Translate, but then we edit heavily after that.
Okay. That's the key right there. Edit heavily. There's the key right there.
AI is getting better and better. It's just being authentic, and you just have to, if you say your office looks this way, make sure that when the client shows up that they're getting that same experience that you're selling them online. And the cool thing about the Hispanic market, the reason why my law firm has done so well is because Latinos, we are so loyal. If you like this person, like for me, like my clients call me my lawyer years after their case closed. They say, oh, you should call my lawyer. And they're like, hold on, she's going to answer me. Hey,
on speed dial.
Hey, I got a friend here who got involved in a crash. Can you help them? Because if you actually take the time to understand the culture, market market the right way, and then actually do the things you say you were going to do. You set up your office to not just be like Google Translate, to actually talk to them as people. If you take the time to let people vent, and Latino culture is incredibly rude to cut people off. Somebody's mad, they're going, don't say, okay, I have another appointment. That's it, you lost that client forever. If you do all those right things, trust me, you're not just doing well by one client. That client will probably send you 20 other clients. That's better than any commercial out there.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that marketing makes sense to anybody out there who's marketing that. Hey, if you want to appear some way on the internet, you better appear that way in person. I can't tell you how many times where some sort of family activity place, and they're like, oh, only smiling employees here, and you go there and everyone's grumpy, and you're like, all right, well, I guess you guys lied. No, I'm just kidding. But still, it's very, you got to be authentic. Like you said, you got to be authentic through and through. There's no time for BS. People don't have time for BS. And plus, people tend to have a BS meter. They can kind of see through when you're being fake and stuff like that. So you got any particular success stories that you'd like to bring up that just make you super proud of your work?
Yes. I always tell my team members every case is a $1 million case. And here's the reason. I had a client, and of course I can't say her name. Let's pretend her name is Maria. And she was referred from another attorney's office, and it was a bad case. Really bad case. I ended up making $2,000 on that case. Small case, took me forever. Client was super, super grateful. And I'm beating myself up. That was the first year in business. I'm a terrible businesswoman. I spent all this time, all this effort, and I made $2,000, blah, 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 all that. Well, then she had a coworker, and her coworker was walking to work and got hit by a commercial vehicle, and the driver was drunk or intoxicated, I would say, but he was high. And guess what? That case settled for $850,000. And then she also sent me her sister-in-law, another coworker. So when you add up the math, it ended up being $1 million. Out of my case, wow. My one case that another law firm didn't want, I took it on because I had nothing else to do. I had no clients, but I did my best. I followed those rules. I treated her like I would treat my mom. I did everything I would as if she was my mom, and it turned into a quote unquote $1 million case.
How long ago was that within your
8 years? Well, the first referral came to me 8 years ago. It was okay. She was probably like client number 2 or number 3, to be honest.
Oh wow. So it's kind of cool that you get to reflect on that case, which turned out to be a great case for you and helping your client, and then looking at where you're at today. I mean, just to see the connection there. Personally, I would love to hear more about like your mindset of just grinding out, hustling, as you said, and just like even though you might be in a place that's very feels like the bottom of the barrel, like what's the mindset? What do you have to think about and do?
For everyone out there who's starting to do marketing for their law firms, don't get discouraged. It's really the compound effect. When I started out, again, I had that time block. I said, I'm going to spend 40 hours a week. And guess what? Nobody called me. It took months before I could actually get good cases. And what I would do, because it's very discouraging when you're working so hard and no one's calling, and it's easy to give up and go get a quote unquote real job. That's what I could have said. Oh, I'll get a real job with a real paycheck. But what I would do during that time, and I still do this today, is I would write down every single marketing action I did, and I would have goals on what I was doing, not the results I was getting, but what I was doing. I would have the goal to go to 4 events this week and talk to 100 people this month. And I had a spreadsheet, and I would just write down everything I was doing, because I knew those were seeds that I was planting. And the more seeds I planted, the more trees I was going to get. And just because the phone is not ringing, give it time. It doesn't work like, I learned really fast, it doesn't work like you give somebody a business card and they'll trust you and call you. You have to see that person, I don't know how many times. You have to build relationships. And even today, when the phones are slow, I go back to my list of referral sources and I go one by one. That's how I got another $1 million case. I went one by one. I called somebody I hadn't talked to in 8 years. Hi, how are you doing? And then she said, you know what? My friend's kid just got involved in a crash. Can they call you? Sure. Don't underestimate the power of relationships and doing it the right way. Don't expect quick results. Work hard and don't give up.
Don't give up. There you go. You folks heard it. Don't give up. That's awesome. What a great story. Really appreciate you taking the time to share it with us. This has been an awesome episode, and I'm very excited for the people to hear it. So appreciate you taking the time to spend with me.
Appreciate you guys, and can't wait to see the next batch of content out there for you guys.
Awesome. I appreciate it. All right, everyone listening, thank you for listening. And have a great weekend. We will see you next week.